So this is going to come across as a bit of a strange apology video. I think that, or I have concerns that it might come across as a little bit self-indulgent. That's not my intention. I want to do it all in one take because for me, this comes across in a strange way as more authentic, or at the very least, more transparent. And so to that end, I have a bit of notes. I will be referring to these, so if I look down, I'm looking to try and make sure that I do not miss a particular point that I've had in mind, and so let's get into it a little bit. I've been thinking a lot about morality recently, and this is going to be a bit of a strange apology, as we mentioned, in the sense that I am not apologizing for anything specific, but I am apologizing on the axis of the type of morality I think is actually important. I think contemporary morality is, and especially the types of things you might see apology videos for, is generally speaking focused on singular events or grievances or specific things in which a person does something wrong specifically. And I think that there is a focus on sin and error, and I don't think that this is a good form of morality. So to kind of, this preface is important to unpack where I'm coming from, but the Greek notion of good, the ancient Greek notion of good, was that of arete, which roughly translates to good, but what it's explicitly refers to is excellence. And in my mind, this is the type of morality that is missing in more contemporary morality, that there is a sort of emphasis on personal excellence, and in my mind, this is a sort of general excellence that should be a moral good towards which one kind of aspires, not in a complete morality type of thing. I think doing good things is good, and doing bad things is bad, but also there's this thing where doing good things is good, and I think contemporary morality in a lot of ways only really punishes people for sins of commission, things that they do wrong, and doesn't punish them for sins of omission, things that they fail to do right. And there's a philosopher by the name of Peter Singer who has a thought experiment that I think illustrates this pretty well. And the thought experiment goes like this. You're walking down the street in your expensive shoes, $200 shoes, and you see in a pond a child is drowning. You could save them at no risk to yourself, but you would ruin your shoes. Are you morally obligated to save the child? And the point of the thought experiment is a lot of people are going to say, yes, you save the child. It's just shoes versus the life of a child. Of course you do that. And the point that Peter Singer makes is that this is a thought experiment that you run every single day. And this is a thought experiment that you play every single day when you choose not to give to charity that gives life-saving relief to people all across the world. And it is only the presence of someone in your immediate, vicinity that is the substantive difference, not the opportunity to save a life at the expense of $200. And to some extent, I agree with Peter Singer. To another extent, I think that people do not have a moral obligation to live only for society, humanity and this type of stuff. They also have a moral obligation to live for themselves, but that they do have an obligation in both spheres. And my disagreements with Peter Singer would be a little bit more to unpack, and also for me to think through. I haven't thought through it as much as I would want to in order to make a video, but my point is that I think that my failure specifically is not in the things specifically that I've done wrong, although it's not saying that I've never done anything wrong, but that I have, over the past 10 months specifically, I think, failed society, and also, to kind of talk to Peter Singer's point, I have failed myself in a lot of ways, in that I think I have a moral obligation to be more useful to humanity, and also to be more competent than I have been in the past 10 months. And I think that I have more potential than has been realized And so I think that this is the way in which, sorry, wrong thing, the way in which I have been failing over the course of the past 10 months. And it is becoming very evident to me now that my failures to prepare and establish competence for which I can be more useful to humanity and also myself are coming up just now in terms of events and opportunities are present, and I feel wholeheartedly inadequate to meet those events. And for me, this is something that I feel is a genuine failure and I regret. And I think that while I have, to whatever extent I have competence, and other people may disagree with my evaluation of this, I think that I could do much better. And my lack of preparation and working on, sharpening the saw of my own competence, in thinking of things through a metric where to be moral is to be competent, I think I have failed. And I think this is, in particular, thinking on the last 10 months, the weakest I have ever been as an individual since middle school. There is no period in my life that is this broad and long a period that I think I have been the most listless and feckless. And there's a lack of general competence, and there is a lack of, in some senses, and this is ironically, a lack of attentional fitness and the ability for me to focus on the things I think are important and not merely pay attention to the things that are urgently grabbing at my attention. And I think that I have, over the past 10 months, largely distracted myself with pleasure while simultaneously not being fulfilled at all, and been unsatisfied with the way things have been going, and have been failing myself and others to the extent that other people, which includes your other people, have expectations of me. I think I've failed to meet them, and to the extent I have expectations of myself, I think I've also failed to meet them. Just not that the point is to make a list, but like over the past 10 months, I think I've gained about 50 pounds, which might be the most jarring statistic. But I also used to read like 80 books a year. Not that I could read that amount while making videos and doing this stuff, but I definitely could. Last year, I think I read about 5, and the fact that I don't know the number that I read is an indication that this metric that I've held to be an important metric, one in which one is seeking knowledge, the fact that I can't even express the amount or the number that is an indication of how I have not been able to properly execute in a lot of ways. My motivation has been low, and of course this is kind of like, it feels like a first world type of problem to complain about, and it is, because other people have bigger issues than that. And so, but yeah, I haven't been going to the gym as much as I should, and I think that I have a moral responsibility to do better in the exact same sense, or to the extent that someone is worthy, or a lot of people regard people as being worthy of being repudiated publicly for things that they have done wrong. I think that to some extent people deserve that when they fail to accomplish what they otherwise could. And there has been, to add a little bit of context in terms of what's been going on in my life and this type of stuff, there are some things that have been bothering me and eating at me. The first of which, for those of you who follow the gaming channel, is that channel is basically completely stalled out. This is largely my fault. It's not the fault of any sort of viewers. And part of this is my lack of execution in this type of stuff. But fundamentally, I either need to make that channel do better, or I need to change my life's path. But that is kind of like thing one that has been most happening over the course of, I suppose, 8 to 10 months. 10 months, a little bit less. Been a little bit more active since the start of the year. But roughly speaking, that's the idea. There's also been a couple of things that have been eating at me, particularly more recently. Someone who I was really close to in high school, although I haven't really talked to them much recently, died, and that's been something that's been on my mind a lot. They were in their 30s, they have kids, and it's definitely like haunting me. I have nightmares and stuff. I think that to some extent it is there's a lot to unpack there, and I don't want to speak too much on like my personal relationship with that. But another thing that's been bothering me, that is something I don't have a problem talking with as much publicly, is the development of the situation and the relationship with the United States in regards to Ukraine, because I think that's a really important issue. That has also been giving me nightmares. And I think that this, to the extent that I am not able to respond to the negative things in my life appropriately, this is an indication of failure on my part. If I were stronger as an individual, I would not let these things affect me as much as I think they are affecting me, and that is a point of frustration for me, and another further example of the degree to which I have failed to accomplish, embody a sort of ideal version of myself to the extent that I am able to, which is obviously no one can accomplish that in a perfect sort of sense. Recently, I also got this machine. It's called a CPAP. Helps you breathe during your sleep. I was having apnea events during my sleep, and I knew I would be getting this, and I knew I would be getting this for maybe the past 4 months, and I think that, to some extent, I was hoping that once I got this, everything would be all better, and I would just be able to kind of get back into some sort of rhythm and something like this. And I think that this was a convenient sort of excuse to abdicate some sort of responsibility to get things done and do things of this type of thing. And the CPAP definitely helps. But I think that it is not, it's not a magic pill that's going to fix everything. To some degree, I thought it was going to be a magic pill, and to the degree which I thought it was going to be a magic pill, rather than taking a bit more personal responsibility for getting things done, I think that is that's something that I should have been dealing with better. This is kind of the point where I think in a normal sort of apology video, that I would say, I will do better, and this is the plan, and this type of thing. I think that would be mildly patronizing to anyone who's made it this far in the video, who's interested in kind of me unpacking this type of thing. And I think that it would be mildly patronizing because I've said I was going to do better before, and at several other points in time, and if I can't be better, I can at the very least be honest, which is to say I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to know whether or not I'm going to be able to live up to the expectations that I hold for myself, and perhaps you guys hold for me as well. I think that very often when these sorts of I'm going to do better types of public-facing comments get put out, they get put out when you are in an affective state of planning on doing better, which is generally a better affective state, or a more productive affective state, or an affective state in which you feel better about the prospect of the future because you've made a plan about the future, and you're going to feel better at the time of making those types of statements than you are going to be when it actually comes time to execute and to do the things that you think you need to do, but that you struggle to do. And so it is with that in mind, I will not make any sort of promise. I can at least try and be as honest about this as possible. I'm mainly trying to do two things here with this. And man, I really wish I were more competent to be able to rise to what, in my opinion, are a combination in my life right now of like opportunities and moral demands. I don't think I emphasized that enough, like kind of when I was talking more in the ways in which I've been weak, and I just want to emphasize it here now, is I think that I am at a point where there's a combination of opportunities and moral demands, and I wish I were just more competent than I feel, because I think that some of these things are really important, and I am frustrated that I don't think I'm able to do what I think I need to do, and I think I could have made myself able to do what I need to do had I been proactive about achieving and seeking out competence. But to wrap like kind of things up, there's twofold reasoning kind of here, to give like recognition and remorse that I have failed to achieve expectations, if not yours, then at the very least mine, and that this may be possibly an inflection point upon which I am going to improve, and that doing this publicly is in some way motivating or gets things moving in a hope that this is going to be somehow effective, but also in an accountability sort of way, because those of you who are watching this video are probably watching primarily from Victoria 3 and my gaming video, and to speak to that, like, I have just been doing way less there on that channel. And to be honest, it's possible that I end up doing less on that channel just as a consequence of needing to shift gears in terms of, like, my life overall. But I have been focused on the channel and simultaneously not doing a lot. And that is an example of, to some extent, what I've not been able to do. But if I continue on here, I think I will ramble. I hit all the points I wanted to make. So with that in mind, I would just like to say I am sorry.